button. Matt, if you could
Hang
just
on.
hop onto the... Well, no, not straight away. I mean, it's going to take 20 seconds to pop up anyway. But if you could just nip into the live stream and make sure it's all hunkily-dorily oogly, because, you know, it's the first one of the year. Something's bound to go wrong, isn't it? Like my pen's going to run out of ink halfway through or something. Oh, Luke, I need... oh, we have... Yeah, no, I've just got the notification. That's good. I bought a new notepad. It's like really big. It's like the size of my head.
Okay.
I was hoping for a pocket-sized one, but they didn't have any in the shop. So I'm stuck with this beep for... Well, until it runs out. It's really thick as well. So much of it. Really handy. Pocket-sized ones are great, because if you do... Oh, Matt, that is not an attractive angle.
It's using the wrong camera for some reason. I gotta figure that out.
Dearie me. Do it on the live stream, why don't you? Hello, live stream.
Well, this is why I didn't want you to go to the live stream yet.
Oh, you should have said. We'll get to enjoy seeing Matt's bad angles while we get things started. Hello, live stream. Happy New Year to you all. We hope you had a wonderful Christmas and New Year's and all of that jazz. We are back, baby.
So annoying.
Look, I never asked. How was your Christmas, New Year's, everything?
Oh yeah, it was really good. Really relaxed, which was nice, and yeah, I just want to get the season started now. I'm just really excited. So yeah, but it was good. Good to have a bit of time off, and yeah, just because it was such a busy year. Like this year's just going to be nuts. So I just wanted a bit of time just to see my family and just relax. And yeah, but no, it was good. How about for you guys?
I mean, yeah. I mean, me and my friends, we haven't got as much to talk about now. But we've got the Autosport show coming up, so I'll see a lot of them. There, I love going to the Autosport show because it's the kind of thing that marks the start of the motorsport season. I feel.
Definitely.
Especially now it clashes with Marrakesh. There's a thing I might be doing at the show, which means I'll miss the Marrakesh race, which will be the first one I've like ever missed since I've been covering it. Which would be really disappointing, but also kind of like worth it. But
of course.
No, yeah. We'll see on that one.
I'm hopping over to the live stream. Unfortunately, your timings have made it impossible for me to use my advanced technology today.
Oh,
sorry for that. Like literally, I needed about 2 or 3 more minutes, maybe. But I might have had to call back in to make it all work. So
I mean, do you want to? I mean, if you only need 2 minutes, and
there we go. All right. Looks like we're up, and we have a whole listener. Yay.
Good. I wasn't expecting it because we planned this one quite late, so the advertising hasn't been ideal. Plus the fact that we're, you know, this is still only the second show we've done on this channel, so.
Right. It'll take time. Okay.
Yeah. I expect the post Marrakesh one to be fairly significant.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to. I have software that lets me write things on my screen, so I don't have to like just sort of vaguely point and hope you know who I'm pointing at. It would have solved that problem for all time, but because I opened up with the other webcam in Skype, I'm not able to get it to run in my software now.
Oh, okay.
In order of operations, things if you go in the wrong order, it just does not work.
Oh, but we can make do with L and C. At least we don't have Anil today, which would be really awkward.
Well, Anil is actually easy. The problem is L and C look just about the same.
Well, make it. Well, do it clearer then.
I'll do that one for Chris.
I know you're.
Is that okay? That won't cause a problem, will it?
Matt, I know you're old and you've probably got arthritis and stuff, but it should be pretty easy to L and C. Oh dear, I've missed this so much.
I know it's always a good time. So you're going to Marrakesh then? Are you going to Daytona, Luke?
No, unfortunately not. That's sort of the one thing over this winter I'm not going to be able to get to, unfortunately. But I'll be watching keenly though. Really excited for it.
Excellent.
Okay.
I'm entertaining fantasies of trying to go myself.
Okay, that's cool. Whereabouts in the US are you based?
I'm based in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So So it's a bit of a haul, but I found some reasonable flights, and I have a friend who lives in Daytona. So.
Oh, that's helpful. Cool.
You're only like within a stone's throw of where the race was held.
Which race?
The New York race.
Yeah, it's almost in my bag. It's less than 2 miles.
So you two probably, you guys were in the same, what is it, county? Do they call them counties over there?
Well, we do have counties, but we call them boroughs here in this city.
Oh, the borough. Yeah, that's the boroughs. Yeah. I've noticed we have effectively got 2 Americans on the show now.
This is not a problem as far as I can tell.
Oh dear. Well, he's not going to get your Civil War reference. Right, shall we start? Only 6 minutes late for the first show of the year, which is fairly good time for us, really.
I don't think we're really late. I mean, we started the live stream on time. We're just having the pre-show chat.
I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose so.
For the list.
And I suppose now that Anil is not here, we're not as tight for time, so we can't afford to overrun a wee bit. So, without further ado, can we get 5 seconds of silence before we mute? And then, Matt, you can kick us off.
You are listening to eRadio by Missed Apex. We are electric. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the eRadio show. Today's episode is called When Yanni Comes Marching Home, which, frankly, only the aging Americans amongst our listeners are likely to get. I'm Matt Trumpets, and today I'm joined by Chris Stevens. Chris, how are you doing today?
Good. It's good to be back on the airways, recharge the batteries over the winter, and I just cannot wait to get back into Formula E action again.
Yes. Unfortunately for us, the grin that is currently on your face cannot be described in a family-friendly fashion. However, your excitement is plain to see for everyone who's watching at home. And we have a special guest today. Joining us again, Luke Smith. How's it going, Luke? And welcome to the show.
Thanks, Matt. Really good to be back on. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for asking. We're super excited that you're willing to continue joining us in our coverage of Formula E because we value your insight, and we know, and we'll get to it later, that you have some exciting changes in your life that you might be wanting to talk about.
Yeah, it's all go for 2018, so it should be pretty good.
Wonderful. Well, let's get to it, shall we, with some big, dirty news.
Big Dirty News.
So, see, I thought I was going to catch Stevens off guard, but look at him. He's so ready to go. He had the bumper to hand. Very impressive, very impressive. So the biggest, dirtiest news, of course, is that Neil Yanni has left Dragon after just one race weekend, and Jose Maria Lopez is coming back, which I admit I'm a bit excited for. So who does that look worse for? Chris?
I don't know. It's quite a messy breakup that's happened, really, although I'm pretty sure all the parties involved are presenting it as cleanly as possible. And it was a fairly amicable split between Yanni and Dragon. It just kind of wasn't going the way they expected. That's what Yanni said. Anyway, I mean, we know that this Porsche tie-in fell through. Dragon said thank you, but no thank you. And they've kind of got the worst car on the grid from Hong Kong. They were the only team who didn't score any points, so you can understand why Yanni was wanting a way out. Frankly, I don't think it reflects well on Dragon particularly, and Yanni, you know, he can't really come out of this looking badly. Because in a car as bad as that, there's your escape clause. But apparently he's quite keen to sort of stick around and maybe do Formula E again in the future.
Well, now that's kind of fascinating. And correct me if I'm wrong, but was not Dragon originally tied up with Faraday Future?
Yeah, it was. And there's been so much negative press about Faraday this past year that it's kind of understandable that this car has come in and not performed instantly. I mean, I'd be very keen to know actually how it's affected Faraday in the development of this car and how much of it is actually Faraday produced and how much Dragon had to oversee all that. Luke, I don't know if you've got any more information on that.
Yeah, I think it's been a very odd breakup, as you said. I think we all kind of imagined that Faraday was where the problems really lay in that team through last season. But now Dragon have come into season 4 and they look so far off the pace. And yeah, Neil was very scathing with his words after Hong Kong. He said, we need improvement. Said, I can see the cars pulling away from me on the straight. And he was really unhappy. Jerome D'Ambrosio, off the record as well, was really, really not happy and said it was going to be a long, long, long season. Yeah, so I think it's a big story. It's a surprising story, but not entirely unexpected. I think Neil thought that he would rather maybe take a step out of Formula E and find a seat somewhere else, or just continue to focus on his LMP1 GTs if he wants to get in the frame for that Porsche Formula E drive in season 6, rather than spend a year tootling about at the back of the grid.
It does make a lot of sense. Didn't he say that 4/10 or something he was losing just on the straights in Hong Kong? Now, Hong Kong's got a couple more straights and longer straights than you normally see on a Formula E track, but that is still quite a significant disadvantage. It just doesn't seem to have drivability, power, or efficiency, which are the three big things you need in Formula E.
So, just out of curiosity, it seems to me that perhaps, given the fact that a lot of what has been written about Faraday had to do with their finances, is this possibly like a cumulative deficit we're seeing across 2 seasons now, a total lack of development money for last season and going into this season? Or do you think this is just really a problem starting this season for Dragon?
It's kind of a fresh issue because their Season 3 powertrain had very little, if anything, to do with Faraday, because they only signed that deal, or at least announced it, at the end of Season 2. And when I spoke to the drivers at the beginning of Season 3 testing, they were telling me that Faraday have got pretty much nothing to do with the car at that stage. So as far as I'm aware, this is their first attempt.
Right, but would Faraday not also bring some investment money to the team itself? That's really what I'm asking about.
Okay. I mean, you would, a manufacturer probably would come in and provide a little bit of support in that aspect. But given the headlines we've been seeing about them, that is probably something they're lacking.
Right.
I think it also comes down to a personnel issue as well. There are some big gaps in that team. I believe Neil was without a data engineer, for example, in Hong Kong, and there was a confusion over who would and would not be at the race. As an example, the team's got their logistics manager doing their PR as well at the moment. There is it's just a bit of a mess on the Dragon side, and I think maybe Faraday, that has been able to sort of paste over some of the cracks and maybe cover up some of the problems with Dragon. But now this is back to being a pure Dragon operation. I think we're seeing the issues come up again.
Yeah, harks of Techeetah at the beginning of last season when they were a complete hot mess. But look, I wonder if you knew any more about supposedly Penske saying thanks but no thanks to Porsche and that deal. Is that actually the case?
As far as I know, they were offered a handful of engineers to work with them through the season, but I think it wasn't a deal like the one between HWA and Venturi, for example, which is laying the foundations for Mercedes' entry. It did very much seem a case of Porsche wanting to offer some of its expertise and its sort of knowledge to the Dragon operation, and then in return be able to prepare for its own entry. Penske, maybe he wanted to sort of be protective of his own assets. He didn't want Porsche getting involved with Dragon. He wanted to keep it as his own team. I don't know. But yeah, you've got to think that for a team that has really been backmarkers for last season and definitely are this season, to offer some engineers and the top know-how from an LMP1 operation that has dominated WEC for the last 3 years, it's a very odd move, definitely.
Because, I mean, it would be different if they were competitive last season. But last season they had their worst season in its short history. They were race winners in the first 2 seasons. And now we're just seeing more of the same of this as a backmarker team. And quite substantially a backmarker team. And in terms of the short term, it makes no sense whatsoever. I don't know what Penske's got planned for his mid to long term vision. But certainly in the short term, it's a bad call.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it shades of Neo Next TV from season 2, when they were just miles off the pace. And it kind of it demoralizes the drivers. You've got ones left. Jose Maria Lopez has signed up, but that really for him is just a way back into the series. You can't imagine he's going to be thinking of dreaming, scoring any podium finishes or anything like that. Jerome, this will be his second season of sort of being at the back, basically. And as we saw with Nelson Piquet at Next EV, there's only so long it can go on before you go, I've had enough. There's only so many promises you can take before you say, I'm leaving and find something better.
So I'm finding the comparison to Neo to be interesting. Do you think that long-term Penske does have some kind of a sponsorship or some sort of deal? Because, I mean, frankly, over here in the U.S., they're a fairly well-regarded team. They seem to run a pretty buttoned-down operation. And this doesn't seem to be reflected at all in what's going on overseas in Formula E. So any whispers, any knowledge, any thoughts on that?
Nothing that I've heard of. I think this really is just sort of shown for the first time publicly just what a mess the team is actually in. Yeah, they've got a lot of work to do now, because all of the other teams and independents, they're working hard to either get a manufacturer tie-up, such as Cheetah and Virgin, or like Mahindra, really make their own operations so efficient and so well oiled that it's able to win races. And Dragon seems to be pretty lost right now.
I feel in that Neo comparison, Neo have got the escape clause in that they were still using that twin motor layout, which I think a lot of people are sort of coming to the conclusion that it's not the way to go, especially after season 2. In season 3 it got a bit better, but it still wasn't what it needed to be. So I feel like they had that escape clause, whereas Dragon have maybe got a few question marks over it. I mean, you have to wonder how much they know about their own problems.
Definitely. And yeah, I think it's just looking like there's no real reason behind it, apart from splitting with a major partner, but one that had only really negative headlines for the team. The team was very, very eager to distance itself from Faraday, but in doing so, it's kind of lost that get-out clause, I guess you could say.
I mean, Marco Mattiacci lasted less time at Faraday than he did at Ferrari. That was a great start, wasn't it?
It just seems to me, thinking about it, that perhaps maybe Penske was counting on Faraday to do a lot of the developing. And with that falling apart, they don't have the staff or the infrastructure to do it on their own, which still begs the question of why they wouldn't be willing to share with Porsche some of their knowledge in return for some of that support, because that's clearly their weak point.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to be cutting off their nose in spite of their face. It's formally at the moment, you need to either be a big manufacturer willing to spend so much money and really work hard to get to the front, like Jaguar, like Renault, like Audi, or you need to be tied up with someone. You can't do this on your own. Mahindra, I think, have been excellent in what they've done. They're probably the best example of an independent. But Dragon, there's none of it. It's a team that keeps changing identities all the time as well. And there's no consistency. There's no stability there. So I think maybe this season they've got to kind of write off and just think, let's just get grounded and get everybody on the same page. And then from sort of season 5, season 6, start afresh and hope for the best.
Well, isn't that going to be a goal for quite a lot of teams, really? Because obviously season 5 is when the big change is coming, where we go to single-car races and we're getting rid of the pit stops. It almost makes sense to kind of do a Honda in 2009, where you scrap a couple of years and focus on the big change. Not that a lot of teams haven't already been doing the development. I mean, they've been working on that for 2-3 years, some of them. But I suppose for Dragon, they've got a lot less to lose at this point.
Definitely, yeah. But that doesn't stop the short-term pain, and it's going to be a tough season for them. And Yanni going, it doesn't look good. It really doesn't look good.
It doesn't look good, and that just brings up one more question, which is, could this be do you see Penske willing to continue committing resources to this, given the way things have gone the last 2 seasons?
I think so. I think he's always been a big advocate and very committed to the series, which is very good to see. I think season 5 season 6 as well, probably be make or break. But the more we have manufacturers showing an interest in the championship and wanting to get involved, I think the more likely it is that you're going to have to sort of broaden your horizons a bit and not be this sort of isolated operation, which is how Dragon seem right now. Turning down Porsche help is, seems very unwise indeed.
Yeah, but I kind of get the viewpoint too that if other manufacturers are looking for a way in and Porsche is not willing to commit to that partnership, maybe holding on to your entry and waiting for another manufacturer who is willing to commit might be a better long-term move. But it's certainly not going to make things easy in the short term.
No, I agree with that. I think, if you have, for instance, a Toyota come along and they want an entry and they want a team to work with, and Dragon may be an option, but Dragon need to prove they can be a team that can work with the manufacturer. I think, for example, BMW Andretti, that's been a very interesting partnership because BMW have got there and found a lot of issues. I think that Dragon have really got to present themselves as being a team that a manufacturer could work with, and at the moment they really don't look like that.
They're going to have a harder time of it than, say, Virgin, who have done pretty well with DS. And so when they need to start looking for somebody else, I think they're probably the top team that a lot of manufacturers will want to work with coming straight in. And after that, we'll settle for a Dragon or an Andretti or whoever.
Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Well, that's not even the only news we have, because we have now confirmed the post-Marrakesh rookie test lineup. And it looks very confusing to me. Tell me a little bit about what's going on and who maybe you're excited about seeing.
Well, there are some really, really great drivers in here. And there are some that people have messaged me like, who the hell is this guy? But I've brought along some notes to help us along the way. Obviously, the likes of Nick De Vries, Antonio Giovinazzi, Paul Di Resta we'll all be very familiar with. Joel Eriksson as well from Formula 3, Maximilian Gunther as well. Harry Tinknell, we should remember, who tested the Jaguar at the beginning of last season. He's done a lot of testing for Neo as well. James Rossiter, he was doing Valencia. Daniel Juncadella as well. There's a few ones. Alexander Albon, we'll be familiar with from Formula 2. Michael Benyai was at Valencia as well. And actually, I found out that he won the Formula Renault 2.0 NEC this year without taking a race win, I believe, which is quite impressive in some ways. But there are some that people are less familiar with. We'll start with Pietro Fittipaldi, who's in the Jaguar. He was the last Formula V8 3.5 champion. Then we've got Andrea Caldarelli, who is in the Dragon, and he's most known for his Super GT appearances. He was third in the championship this year. And this one I'm worried I'm going to pronounce wrong, but it's Mitsunori Takaboshi, who is the Japanese Formula 3 champion this year. Sam de Jong, officially Mahindra's sim and development driver. Another one I'm worried about pronouncing wrong, Frederick Makaviki, I believe. You may know him from some Le Mans drives with Porsche in GT Pro. Bruno Spengler, a 2012 DTM champion, and a few appearances at the 24 Hours of Daytona. Colton Herta, that's one I'm pretty excited about. You're known from Indy Lights. On this side of the pond, I know him from the MSA Formula, which is now British Formula 4. And I remember him being very good in that. So I'm quite excited about him. Alexander Imperatori, I believe that's how you pronounce it, former Rebellion LMP1. And Nico Muller, Audi DTM driver. So they all sort of make sense in their own little ways. It's either, sort of factory tie-ins or sponsorship, all that kind of stuff. In terms of like who we're quite excited by, Colton Herta, and you can't not be excited about Antonio Giovinazzi in a Formula E car, because he should be in Formula 1 this year for my money.
Okay, Luke, who excites you most on that list? Who are you most interested in seeing in the car?
Yeah, I think I agree. Giovinazzi is really the headliner in this rookie test. He's an excellent driver. I agree, Chris should be in Formula One by now. I think that does show just how highly regarded Formula E is now becoming. It's an opportunity for youngsters to get some track time, to try something a bit different, and really prove themselves. So I think that's great. Pietro Fittipaldi, absolutely excellent in 3.5. Very impressive Porsche LMP1 test as well in Bahrain. Really excited to see him. Maximilian Günther. His Formula 3 stuff has been absolutely fantastic the last couple of years, so he again should be impressive. Otherwise, I think those are really the ones standing out for me. Colton Herta, I think, will be the first driver I see on track who was born after the year 2000, which is one to make us feel all very old, I'm sure.
Ouch. Stevens, you were looking to get in.
Yeah, what I like about this list, I mean, some people are going to look at some of these names, like Giovinazzi, like Nick De Vries, like Paul Di Resta, and say, oh, it's more of the F1 reject syndrome that Formula E has. But you got to look at it in this another way. Very high-profile names are potentially considering Formula E as an alternative future for them. Because let's face it, not everyone does get into Formula One. It doesn't mean they're bad at all. But I love the fact that you've also got a lot of younger drivers that are in the sort of the middle stage of their career before they get a big break in a big single-seater series that are looking at Formula E as their next step, their way forward, and or even the end goal. I'd love to know how many of them are aiming at a seat in the near future.
Well, to me, that's an interesting question, too. And I'm curious, is not Harry Tincknell someone who's been getting very good press lately after his drives, particularly, I think, at Macau? Or am I just completely wrong and you're going to have to edit that out?
To be honest, my memory is not too great about it. Luke, clear it up for us.
He wasn't at Macau, so I don't think that's the one you're thinking
No,
of.
I think you're thinking of Dan Ticktum, Matt.
Ticktum,
Yes.
yeah, maybe that's what it is.
He was very good.
Good enough then. But do we see Formula E becoming a place that these drivers are aiming, or is it still either a stepping stone on the way up or the way down from Formula One for most of these drivers?
I'd say somewhere they're aiming now. I think if you can't be in Formula One, which, let's face it, majority drivers can't be, there's only 22 seats, then I think Formula E is really the place to be. It's a place where you can be a professional driver. You can balance that with some WEC, for example, or Super GT or any other series. So I think, lots of youngsters nowadays, they're not snubbing it. They're not on this sort of Formula One or nothing mentality anymore. They are looking at series such as Formula E, which is why I think you see such a big interest in this rookie test.
I think part of that as well is maybe Formula One's politics have become a little bit more visible to the majority of people. I think maybe a lot of drivers just think, I don't really want to get up. I don't really want to get involved in that, and so if they can pick up a Formula E /WEC drive to see them through their career, I think it's first of all, it's a very healthy decision as well.
Well, I'm curious. Now I'm going to ask you this. It seems like Super Formula has been the place to put drivers to continue to race while you're waiting for a seat in Formula One. Do we see Formula E starting to be an equal for these up and coming drivers? Like, how would you...
I'm not sure, because I think Super Formula has been very good because of the speed of the cars, and it is very much a preparation for F1. Stoffel Van Dorn said that when he stepped up with these 2017 cars in F1 last year, it didn't feel much different because of the force of the Super Formula car and everything like that. I think Formula E is a lot slower. I mean, we love it. But it's still nowhere near the kind of I think physical exertion that Formula One will give you. So I think it's a series that you may see drivers do maybe, as a thing on the side, like we saw Pierre Gasly, for example, stepping in New York. But I think as a real full-time series to prepare for F1, I still don't think Formula E is quite at that level yet.
No, there's nobody going to be graduating from Formula E to go to Formula One, is there? Because they're just two completely different things. That'll be the day. But I can see it being the other way around, or people just not doing Formula One entirely.
Well, I'll tell you what interests me about it is it Super Formula very much has the aero and the speed. You know, it's a rival to GP2, but you can race on a lot of the tracks that you're going to see. What Formula E offers is the energy management component of Formula One driving in particular, and that's not to be overlooked, I would say, because you can see how busy the drivers are. But still, maybe we shouldn't even be making the direct comparison and judging it by Formula One, because there are lots of series out there. But since that's our other interest, that's why I bring it up.
But also, Formula E will kick you for trying to compare it to Formula One. I mean, we're only just getting onto the full Monaco layout.
Finally.
I don't know.
Right?
I like it. I am in the minority here, but I like the shortened Monaco. See, Luke's shaking his head at me now.
No.
Thank you. The other adult.
Oh, right, because there's going to be so much more overtaking once we use the full version.
Yes, actually, relative to what we had previously, which was just a lot of crashing at the first turn.
That was one time.
All right. Well, I say that not only do we have a post-race test coming up, but we have an actual race coming up as well. So perhaps we should have a quick look at the Marrakesh preview. Right. So we had Marrakesh last year. What do we think of the circuit? Is it a winner, a loser, or just an interesting stop on the World Tour?
I like it. It's quite unique in Formula E in that it's an actual purpose-built facility, and it's quite a good track. It's again very different to most Formula E tracks in that it's got maybe a couple more straights. It's not quite the tight, left to right 90-degree style corners that we're used to. The first sector is actually quite flowing. It's got quite a few long corners in there and some tricky braking zones, and it provided quite an entertaining race last year. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it as well. I think it's a purpose-built track, as Chris said, but also we've not seen a series like Formula One go there. So it's not like Monaco, for example, where people do go, oh, it looks really slow. It's compared to touring cars, so similar speed, which is great. And it's a cool track. It's not your typical Formula E circuit, which is a street course with hairpins and 90-degree corners. It's a proper circuit, so which should be good. One of the longest on the calendar as well, if not the longest. So in terms of strategy, I think things are going to be quite tight for teams. It'll be interesting to see how they spice things up and whether we can open the window a little bit more on that front.
So we couldn't be further away from Hong Kong then, could we? Because that is one of the shorter tracks of the year. Not necessarily the shortest, but certainly shorter than most. And the strategy window is quite wide there. And in terms of its layout as well, because it's such a unique track, we'll probably end up seeing another shift in the grid order, which we already can't really work out, even after two races. By this time last year, we probably had it figured out by now that, you got these guys here and then these guys and these guys, and Dragon and Venturi at the back. But this year we've got 7 or 8 teams I would put down for a win. So don't ask me who I think is going to win, because there's 16 options there. Well, 15. Okay.
So who's going to be nearer the front? Who's your money on based on the circuit characteristics? Because you said with longer straights, probably it's going to be about efficiency, who's got better regen and thermal management, and who can deploy more on the straights for longer periods of time without overwhelming that.
Well, based off of just the race one performance, you'd have to say DS Virgin and Sam Bird have got to be up there, because that was just such a dominant display. And the efficiency was so strong, but then there were so many little asterisks against his opponents that they were stuck behind this guy, and then this happened as well, so they didn't really end up where they should have been. So you've got to throw in Mahindra as well, and Audi still, who are, Daniel Abt was right up there. Lucas has got to find something to try and balance that out. And, for him and Buemi as well, they've got to make a big impact after leaving it. Well, should have left with no points, but the app disqualification meant Buemi did actually score a point that weekend.
Yeah, they've really got to dig deep. I think it really surprised us all to see the two big manufacturers, Renault and Audi, struggling so much. But Audi took a lot of confidence from their displays. There was a lot of bad luck for Lucas, I think, in both races. So I think he and Daniel, who was excellent and so harshly robbed of his victory, I think they will be up there for this the coming race. I think we're going to see probably Renault looking good, obviously. Jaguar, their qualifying pace was excellent. Race pace a little less so they may struggle, I think, particularly on a longer circuit. But it's so open, as you say. We had, I think, 5 teams hit the podium in Hong Kong. It's so hard to try and pick who's up front, who's second, how the pecking order's shaping up, which is really exciting. It means we go into a race not with a clue who's going to be on top. Whereas, this time last year, we knew it was probably going to be Buemi.
See, and I love just how different it is compared to last year. But if you were going to take sort of who you would definitely expect to see right at the sharp end of the pecking order, you would say Virgin, Mahindra, and you'd expect Audi and Renault to sort of throw their name into the hat as well. Venturi as well, I mean, Mortara almost won his second ePrix. But then in terms of the podium as well, we definitely should not discount Jaguar. Like I said, great qualifying pace. Techeetah, I think they need to work on their race pace a little bit as well. But then Andretti and Neo very nearly scored podiums themselves in Hong Kong. That went under the radar a little bit because Turvey was running in a strong third place, holding everybody off before the car shut down. Da Costa, for my money, should have been fighting for the podium in the second race in Hong Kong, but then the car didn't start during the pit stop, and that's what cost him. So as long as they can keep on top of that, then I'd say they should be in for a few surprises as well. Really, the only thing I can say with some confidence is that Dragon will be towards the back, which is horrible to say. I don't mean to just be really mean to Dragon, but I'm trying to deal in facts here.
Yeah, well, if they were losing 4/10 on the straight in Hong Kong, you sort of silently weep for what's going to happen in Marrakesh.
Yeah, I think that's very true. This circuit really does not work to Dragon's strength. So I think it may be a baptism of fire for Jose Maria Lopez on his return to the series. But it's going to be exciting though. I think we can safely say we've got 9 out of 10 teams that could be on the podium. Any series would absolutely kill to have a sort of some variety like that, which is good news for everyone except if you're Dragon. But
do you remember after Valencia testing, we were really worried about this Audi race pace that was apparently a second a lap quicker than everyone else, and they were going to dominate the year? I mean, no disrespect to Audi, but I just love that hasn't happened.
And now you said that, it's going to happen.
No, I've jinxed it. I've ruined it. I'm so sorry.
Time for an edit. All right, now that you've ruined everything, Stevens, I would say it's time for comment of the week, but the closest thing to a comment of the week would be my money's on Felix Rosenquist by Artemy EX. So congratulations for playing along. But we have a moment, and we should take a little bit of the show to talk to Luke and find out what he's been up to and what he's about to be up to, because big change in your life, my friend.
Yeah. I obviously, anyone who follows my work will know that I've spent last five seasons with NBC Sports. Obviously, they've lost broadcasting rights in the United States for 2018. So I've moved on from then. Big change, and it's been a big shift personally, I think, over the winter. It's just one of those things. Really, it was disappointing news, but Hopefully ESPN can carry on the excellent work in the United States, an amazing market full of knowledgeable fans, really deserve the best coverage they can get. I've not got everything 100% sorted for this year yet, but I would say it's 95% sorted. So it's going to be good, though. I'm going to be across Formula One, Formula E, WEC, which is exciting, and hopefully more details will come soon. But it's been a big change, though, definitely.
So it sounds like you're going to land on your feet from this one, which is really great news to hear because, speaking personally, I've always enjoyed your coverage and feel like you do bring some real insight that not every journalist, Stevens, brings to their articles as well.
Thank you. That's very, very appreciated.
Just because I don't spend 2,000 words on qualifying because no one's going to read it, I don't bring insight. I bring the people what they want.
All right, fine. You and me, we'll let Luke read both of our stuff. He can decide which he likes better.
Okay, I'll do that.
I will let the viewing figures decide this one. I'll send you my stuff from Hong Kong, and you tell me how good your qualifying report did.
All right, then. All right. I have no idea, actually, how many people read it, but I don't care.
It doesn't even read up on his statistics.
I do not have time for worrying about things like that. I have bigger fish to fry. So you're going to be covering Formula One. Formula One, Formula E. Any other disciplines going to be in there for you, Luke?
WEC will be another big one as well. So I think there's one stretch where I've got possibly 13 race weekends in 14 weeks where I'll be at the circuit. So it's going to be a busy year, but it's exciting and it's what I've wanted to do since I started out. So it'll be good. But Formula E is a series that a few people said to me, well, if you're doing more Formula One, would you want to drop that? But no, it's such a good championship and it's so important, I think, for the future of motorsport. So definitely eager to keep a foothold in there, certainly.
See, I definitely have that same sort of feeling. Whenever it comes to weekends with clashes on Formula Spy, where we have the F1 and the FE, I'm always the one to keep pushing the FE stuff. And I remember in Hong Kong last year when the end of qualifying would clash with the start of the Grand Prix in Japan. And I was so eager to try and just we can keep pushing it's the Super Bowl. It's going to be really exciting. No one cares about the Grand Prix anyway. It's going to be really boring. So, there was an argument I lost, but it was, it was the effort that counted.
Well, I have an update to our comment of the week. Artemis still wins, but now he's gone proper in. He said, winning for lack of competition feels too USA 2005. So there we go. There we have a real winner of comment of the week. But Luke is not the only one with some potential news there, Stevens. My joking aside, you've actually accomplished something, much to everyone's surprise.
Yeah, for once in my life. No, I had my autosport.com/motorsport.com debut with some MotoGP work over the winter that they wanted me to write, and so I was very pleased. I was very, very, very pleased to have that over the winter. I've had maybe 3 or 4 published now over the winter, and I've got some more stuff in a few more things potentially for this year, and a little bit more bike stuff with Motorsport. Because they're quite big on the bike stuff, Motorsport, which is good for me because I like bike racing. I know you and Spanners don't understand it or whatever, but bike racing is just amazing, and so I'm really happy to be able to dip my toe in that one as well.
I used to race bicycles, so I think that's probably more Spanners than me. But you're right, I don't follow MotoGP and the other bike series as closely as I do car racing.
You should.
I probably, if I had the time, I would.
It's always the time. I tried to keep an eye on 40 different series last year, and it did not pan out the way I hoped.
No, it is challenging just to cover like 2, never mind 40. But that's not it. You might have a surprise for us up and coming. I mean, you are moving ahead, aren't you? There are things potentially on your horizon that we're not at liberty to talk about.
Potentially, yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to jinx anything. So I'm not gonna talk about it.
We're just teasing the audience a little bit, and I maybe tiny chance I might be up to something myself, which would maybe result in some fun things further down the line.
This is not musical related.
No, I am still working on the album. Thanks for asking, but no, this is not music related. This is motorsports related. Well, We'll have to see. It could be a challenge.
This is we're all just we're getting up to stuff. We can't tell you what it is.
This is a very aspirational podcast. People listen and they want to do stuff. It's great.
It's the new year. Why not, right?
New year, new me.
Yeah. Oh no, you're not one of those guys. Well, since we may as well talk about the Missed Apex podcast and what we got lined up for that as well, because there's a project in the works that we're quite excited about. I think Spanners has talked about it in terms of a karting video. I think we're still quite keen on doing that one. That's still in the works. We've even got our karting event in Milton Keynes coming up on the 27th. And I'm pretty sure one of us should at least video some stuff from it for the Twitters. So hopefully, and if any of you are coming to that, we look forward to seeing you. And I think 2018 is just going to be more and more of what we built up on in 2017 for Missed Apex podcast. So yeah, harder, better, faster, stronger.
Absolutely. And if you are missing Spanners, don't forget you can find him as the pit lane reporter for the British Rental Kart Championship on YouTube the 20th and 21st of January, streamed live. We're going to have the top UK karters, and it's also a qualifying event for the World Rental Kart Championships. I think Will Buxton, Alex Van Gien, and Bradley Philpott himself might be in attendance. And I hear there might be a few spots left for anybody who wants to get on the actual racing action. Get in touch with Bradley Philpott. They're looking for a few good drivers. Well, okay, a few drivers with the cash to participate. Who am I kidding?
So we got Buxton, Philpott, and Van Gien. That is about as hit and miss as this Formula E rookie test list.
Absolutely. So, Luke, are you going to participate now? You going to be racing?
I think I'll leave it to the professionals.
No, you did well in that Next EV karting event last year or something.
I came third. So, yeah, why not?
I bet Brad would give you a lesson before you jumped in.
That'd be fine, yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much to Luke Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to Chris Stevens.
Thank you.
And remember, chicks dig heels, wounds cause scars, and glory is a fungible concept under certain philosophical precepts. This has been eRadio Show.
Woo!
And now we can keep on talking.
First eRadio of 2018!
It does feel pretty good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think that went fairly well.
Yeah.
It was a good discussion.
That took way less time than I thought it would. That's less than 45 minutes in the end.
Yeah.
So, but then again, it's bite-sized podcast. I mean, there isn't, how many times can we say we don't know who's going to win?
Yeah, well, it's not just, we got out the stuff about the circuit and who it's going to favor. We talked about the, people to watch.
Yeah.
But really, the Yanni news is very big, but you can only beat the bush so much until we have quotes or more knowledge.
I mean, that was a third of the show, really.
Yeah.
So I feel like we covered that pretty well. I'm going to end the live stream. So that we can talk about the secret things that the audience aren't allowed to know.
Excellent. Artemis, it's a great show.
Yeah. Anyway, cheers for joining us, and we'll see you at Missed Apex at some point. Watch the space. Go to Missed Apex F1 for more. Oh, we're so good at this plugging stuff.